Hello, welcome to Doors to Hope and Healing, an inside look at foster care and adoption needs in Connecticut. My name is Jacqueline Ford. I am humbled and honored to have worked for the Department of Children and Families for over 25 years. And although I may bring topics to you that I'm familiar with, I'm inviting experts in those fields to share their knowledge. It is my hope that each week I can help to dispel those myths and misconceptions that often act as barriers to finding homes for Connecticut children. Together with my colleagues, we work tirelessly to create a statewide level of awareness of our need to find more foster and adoptive families and take every opportunity we can to celebrate the army of committed parents who open their homes to foster kids. There are months in our calendar year that are set aside to shine a light on both foster parents and adoptive parents. Today is one of those days. Joining me in the studio is Howie, a man who lives and breathes this work. By day, an agency social worker, and by night, a foster and adoptive dad. Welcome, Howie.
Thank you very much. Excited to be here.
Thank you for joining us on Doors to Hope and Healing. Being a social worker myself, I know that it's often hard to leave the work at work, and we bring that work home with us. But from what I understand, you live and breathe that work by being a social worker during the day and a foster and adoptive dad. How long have you been working for the Department of Children and Families?
Since December 1996, I worked there. I came in as a trainee initially, and then accepted a position as a social work case aide, and I remained there for approximately 8 years. Went back and got an additional degree to allow me to work in the field of social work, and applied to be a social worker, and I've been there a social worker for the last 10 or so years, 12 years.
So how long were you a social service, the SSA?
SSA, I was approximately 7.5 years or so. So, you know, when you go back collectively and you think about how long ago that was, you know, it seems like a snap of the fingers in a way.
Right.
You know?
Can you explain what that role was and what the difference between your initial role was and becoming a social worker?
Sure. You know, we aid and we work closely with social workers and families. We provide a lot of transportation and supervision and role modeling for the parents that are on the path to reunification. So, you know, you get a lot of hands-on work, and I think through that kind of work, it collectively allowed me to see all angles of the job, and I felt very comfortable moving to the next position as social worker. Over and through time, I guess we're all about, you know, the different experiences that we've seen, you know, so. And
you're limited as a case aide or a social service assistant on what you can actually do to really impact the family. So now you're a social worker. So after you became a trainee, what different types of roles did you play within the Department of Children and Families?
Yeah, I guess the role as a trainee, you're really experiencing every component of social work. I think they purposely put a situation in front of you where they limit the amount of caseload that you take on, but it's a scattered caseload. So you'll have somebody working for voluntary services, or you may have a case that's working towards reunification. You may have a case that just came into care. So they allow you to see all different branches of what we do. And one that interested me right off the bat was gravitating towards adolescence. You know, I had a knack for it. I felt it. I could understand and see the need at that point for the children to feel at home, you know, and that in part has brought me to the position of being a foster parent.
And right now you're in the foster care unit.
Yeah.
So with adolescents, I mean, it's difficult enough to be a teen in our society today, let alone being a foster teen. So you had a caseload of just teens, and where were they at in their life when you had those cases?
You know, all different areas. When I moved over to be an adolescent worker, which I did for approximately 8 years, prior to becoming a foster, working in the foster care unit, you know, you had all different aspects of it. The department provides the ability for a child that wants to stay with us. At the time, we've changed the way we do things, but they would stay with us, and we would provide them the ability to get into society with the ability to work, to have a job that they like, and so forth. So you ranged anywhere from, you know, a 12-year-old that may have, you know, be in 6th grade, to, a 22-year-old that's in college.
Right, and doing independent living.
Independent
skills.
living. They could be in college. We work prior to that to give them the life skills and life skills classes and instruction to be able to do the things that, maybe if they were home, they would be role modeling, paying bills, figuring out how to do a resume. Through time, though, the department has emphasized permanency. So we have a smaller population that kind of age to that area. We find permanent and comfortable surroundings for our kids to have permanent connections. It's not the commonality anymore for a child to stay at 23. We're working within the infrastructure of the child's knowledge, family, relatives, common term would be kin, to find a permanent scenario where DCF is not in their life every single day.
Right, because they deserve a family.
Yeah.
And in some of the previous shows that we've had, we talked about the benefits of fostering or adopting with DCF and how we pay for college. So these adolescents are able to get that college experience if they want to have that. So now you're in the foster care unit. So what is your role in the foster care unit?
It kind of mimics my life in a lot of ways. I wanted to be a foster parent. I became a foster parent, and I adopted. And I kept the sibling group together. It was one of the main things that I wanted to do before I even got married and had a home. But in the unit right now, I have a small support case, which would mean having foster parents, working with them, helping them work within the infrastructure of the department and help the children kind of progress towards reunification or wherever their goals may be. Monthly phone calls, quite often more than that, supplying them with whatever they need to be successful within the home with the children that they have. Also, I work for retention events, so I work and set up events with my supervisor and my chain of command to have the foster parents have a day out, whether it be at lake compounds, or we rent a movie theater for the holidays times or summer picnic on the beach. So we try to have them have the ability to have outlets and be able to take the kids out. And also, when you're doing that, you're communicating with other people that are in like scenarios. So we have buddy systems between the foster parents where they call and support each other. We have all kinds of support systems set up for the people to be able to work through stuff, trainings and so on and so forth, whatever may come up. And my last and probably larger part of the role is as a recruiter in the northeast corner of Connecticut. So out of the Willimantic office, I cover the northeast. I have open houses at least 3 times a month, sometimes 4. Some of them are informal. We'll hold it at Borders up at UConn or in a much less formal scenario. A lot of times people just need the information. I think they've always thought about it and they kind of delayed it and put it off. And, something reached out and grabbed them. And there's something within them that wants to know more, but also in a way they want a non-threatening scenario. They want to be able to say, hey, just simple questions. I'm not looking at doing it right now. And a lot of it is kind of planting that seed that's already there and watering it and moving it forward and progressing it towards and letting them understand what we do and the support systems that we have to be able to produce successful outcomes for our youth.
And sometimes those plants take years to grow before they actually come forward to be a resource for us. So you talk the talk at work with your role as being a recruiter and a support social worker, but you also walk the walk. So you're doing the foster care and you have adopted. So what, you said that you've always wanted to even before you were married. So tell me more about that.
I look at my past and like I said, it's collective, like who you are is what you see and what you know, And, when I first got here, it was kind of heart-wrenching that we didn't have homes that would be able to take siblings, large groups, small groups of siblings. And, the last thing anybody wants to do is separate people from what they know, So we obviously look within relatives now first, and then we progress over to homes, foster homes. And I saw that happen a lot. And, I may not be able to change the world, but one person at a time I can make a difference. And I always felt like that as, I was in my 20s, and I didn't have a house. I didn't have a scenario where I could do it, but I put it in the back of my mind and said, I will make a difference someday. And I really felt like that was one of the main things that I wanted to do in my life. So when I did meet somebody and we had like feelings about that, it was simply a plan. We made a plan. Like, we will have our biological children, if we can, and we didn't know at that time, obviously. But I always knew that there were youth out there that needed to stay together and be brought up together in a family, and I wanted to be part of that. It was just simple. I was in my 20s at that time. I mean, I had no concept that I was going to meet somebody that wanted to do that.
Right, because it's definitely a partner. You have to have a team approach to this.
Cannot do it alone.
No, you can't. So at what point did you decide to pursue foster care with DCF? Were you already a DCF?
Yeah, I was a DCF. Let me think. I still was working as a case aide.
Okay.
We became licensed in 03 or 04. 2004, I believe. And again, it was a plan. It was actually a conscientious plan that this is how we were going to form a family. So some people all along want to do it, and then maybe when their children graduate from high school or children get older or whatever they're kind of saying, they come to us, because it was a plan, whether they were a prior youth in our care or a social worker or had some sort of tie or bump in with us at one point or another.
Very true.
Yeah. I had it as an initial plan, and we set that forth even before we had children.
And did you have children of your own?
Yeah, we had two children. My son Alex was born in 06, and Thor was born in 2010.
Okay.
Yeah, and before that, being a foster parent, we had taken in 3 brothers who were teenagers.
And this was before your children were born?
Yep. Well, yeah, it was before they were born. Just shortly before they were born, I got to know one of the older children, teenagers, and I learned his story. And it was through no fault of his own, in a way, that he ended up in our care. So it's a common theme, as a worker, you don't want to take something home, but you want to make a difference, right? So, you set that back in your mind, and it gets you, and I ended up joining a program through the department where we were allowed to mentor children in foster care.
And you mentored this boy?
And I mentored him. And as his permanency kind of changed, how it looked like where he was going and what he was doing, and he got solid in understanding where he was in this world, it just felt natural. Through the mentoring program, he had met my young son Alex. He wasn't even walking.
Wow.
His first steps were to this gentleman, my oldest foster son, and it was kind of crazy. I have it on film. Every once in a while I review it, and I'm like, oh my God, he got him to walk to him, go to the couch and walk over to him, and it wasn't even me. But
that stumble walk.
Yeah, and you so clearly look at that now. In retrospect, I think he's 29 now. He's gonna be 30 soon. Yeah, he was just over last night with his daughter, doing his laundry because he still doesn't. He still likes to save a little money here and there. But I look at it, and it's family.
So did you adopt Thor?
No, adopt the 3 boys that came into our care. No, we offered.
Yeah.
But in honoring the family and honoring their wishes, we didn't. It was their choice, but we integrated. We worked with the mom. We worked with all his relatives and the people that were important in his life. Always being careful to let him progress to understand what his relationship with his mom and his dad and his family were going to be.
And respect that.
Oh, yeah.
So when you were fostering him and mentoring him and having that role, he had a relationship with his birth family.
Yes, absolutely.
So you're an extension of that family.
And, in a non-threatening way, because, I honored them. I talked to them. I looked at the boys, and I knew that regardless of what went on before, they all loved each other, and that had to come from somewhere. And that clearly came from the mother and the father in their early years. How it ended up in our care, another story. But the reality is, a lot of these youths, you don't erase families. No, if we honor them and grow them, they become stabilizing factors as they go to adulthood.
Sure.
So in this scenario, he's still all the time. And it's kind of like he's dividing a pie at the holiday times. Where am I going to go? You know what I mean?
That's great that he has so many options and so many supports in his life.
Yeah. And his brothers too. We're all still in contact, It was exactly what we needed as a family. My wife, myself, everybody involved. It grew. And it grew into something that, beyond a blood connection. He is my oldest. And it's a great feeling, yeah. And I think if you dream it early like we did, and it kind of comes true, makes it even better.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And that you've always wanted to do this, and and you were able to make such a difference. Have you fostered any other children after the three brothers?
A lot of respites and stuff. We rolled with the three brothers, and they never left.
Yeah.
So it was like they didn't want to be. Yeah, they didn't want to be adopted, and they were, at that 14, 15, 16-year-old group. So you got to add. I mean, I'm not going to. It was their rooms. That's how I looked at it. This was their house too.
Right.
And our family is their family. So throughout the years, I mean, they would go to college and they'd come back, or so on and so forth. So we had a bulk of time where we had the three boys plus our two biologicals in the house.
Wow, family of five.
Yeah.
But just that they had somewhere to go back to after they were in college, or for breaks, or for Thanksgiving and holidays, and someone to call if they had something good or bad happen during those college experiences.
Yeah. It was a trust element there, building trust with them and trying to get it to the point where they understood that I and my wife are genuine about who we are and we care about you. Sometimes it's hard for people, regardless being in DCF, to understand.
It is.
Like, where does that come from? Why did you choose us? I mean, one of them asked me that one day. I'm like, I didn't choose you.
Yeah.
It clicked. It worked. It helped us just as much as it helped you guys.
Wow.
It was wonderful, and it still is. We're still in contact with all of them. They're adults now. They're all out there doing their thing.
And are your kids, consider them brothers?
Yeah, it's so funny like that. Yeah. Like my oldest biological son, Alex. I think he was like 4 before he realized that they weren't biologically related to us, or 3.
Right.
It took him a long time. No, there was no difference. And then as the kids progressed into their adult years, we looked at, Michelle and I, to adopt. We had that plan. And we put our names in, and we were looking solely to adopt. And that was a compromise between my wife and I. I mean, I was looking probably to foster, and if it worked, possibly progress to adoption. But you have to hear and you have to listen, because there's someone else that's emotionally involved in this. And my wife didn't feel like she was able to, put that much emotional risk out there. So we went adopt only, which still has an element of risk at the department.
Sure
There's no
does.
doubt about it.
Yep.
We knew what we were getting into. But along came Donovan and Brianna, and Donovan was 6 and Bree was 4. Donovan's approximately a year and a half older than Alex, so kind of changed the order of the kids in a way. But through time, it really has gelled. It was not easy. No one's going to fool me into saying that. My wife will probably watch this, and she'll be like, Howie,
Can you talk a little bit about the barriers or what made it so difficult?
I think, with the older set of boys that we got, they were older. They were set in trying to designate who people were in their lives. They were at a different stage of life. They knew their mom and dad. They knew who they were. They know where they were. But with younger kids, the onset of early trauma, emotional neglect, and so on and so forth, a lot of times we don't know exactly what happened. And trying to work through that, as with anybody, it's just a progression. Every person's different. But when it happens so young, it was just very hard to pinpoint what we could do to stabilize or what we could do to help. And I think trauma looks different for different people. And with the department, we supply a lot of support around that in trainings, but also our generalized pre-service trainings are stress trauma now. We've got a model that works, and I've taken the different models before, and this one helps give the tools to be able to identify, like, all right, I get what's going on here, and this is what we need to do. So, in a sense, it's hard because you want to be able to work, and so somehow there's some innate thing that says, my wife's like, let's just hug them, they'll be good, and that's what it feels like.
Easy.
Yeah,
right.
It's what it
it's
feels
not always
like.
that easy.
And it's just not that easy sometimes, and it just takes time and stabilization and working with good providers and people in the community to be able to get them to the point where they're the most they can be, or where they're going in a direction that's positive, and we're at that.
And you adopted them legally, and how old are they now?
Donovan's 13, and Brianna is 11. Yep.
The teenage year, 13.
Yep, lots of fun.
Yeah. So what do you do for self-care? What do you and your wife do for self-care, especially you, where you're in that field all day long, and you're working with families and dealing with their needs and the support that you're offering them, where you're a foster and adoptive parent yourself. So what do you do for self-care?
I garden. I know that sounds silly, but I do. No. I garden a lot. I like being outside. I coach the teams. I kind of distance myself away from that everyday kind of thing that I see at work, and centralize it to what's important to me. I think first and foremost, I'm a father, you know, and not just to the kids that are, you know, with my last name. You know, I have an extended group of adolescents that I still care for, and we talk and we communicate. Some of them are in their early 30s, and you know, all the way down to 24 and 5. But there's this connection, you know, and you can't dictate a connection. So having that connection, and just kind of being there and doing the things, that helps me. Seeing it come full circle on certain kids has given me hope.
Well, our kids,
feel good, you know?
They've had so much loss, so having someone consistent in their life is really, really what they need, and it seems like you've been able to be that for them. So I thank you so much for being here with us today.
Yes.
It was great having you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Howie is a true example of a selfless human being who impacts the lives of families and children every day through his work as a social worker, and continues that work at home with his wife and his foster children, his adopted children, and his biological children. We need more families like Howies. If you are willing to be a foster or adoptive parent, please call 1-888-KID-HERO. And now I'd like to introduce you to one adorable little boy. Meet Victor.
Victor is a very sweet boy. He's on the autism spectrum. He communicates through picture books. He's able to make some sounds, and he'll let you know what he wants or what he needs. He'll take your hand and bring you to the sink if he needs something at the sink. If he's hungry, he'll let you know. He is an explorer. Anything new, he loves books. If there's a room full of toys, he will go through all the toys. He's learning new skills all the time. He recently developed a good kick. He's now kicking a ball. He does a really good job with that. He would love to be at a park, kicking around a ball, playing on a play set. Victor's your typical little boy. Victor really thrives with structure. So he does need a lot of one-on-one attention. He does well in school. He's very well behaved. He's very social. I think he'd do really well with a family with other younger children. Victor is nonverbal, but he does communicate through the use of a picture book. And he will let you know his needs and wants. He will take your hand and bring you to whatever he needs, whether it be something to eat or he needs to use the bathroom. Victor requires no special physical requirements in the home, no special equipment. He's physically a very healthy boy. I think Victor would bring a lot of joy to any family who's open to caring for a boy like him with some needs. He's got a lot of love to give. Victor is a really, really special boy.